Guys, this is going to be an awesome episode. We're going to be talking about how to become the CEO of your life and of your family. This young lady we're going to have on, truly amazing. She's a mom of four beautiful daughters. She's an amazing wife, author, speaker. She's the Swiss Army knife of positivity. I'm so grateful to have her to come on the show. And I also got to give a big shout out to Mr. Sam Rivera. If it wasn't for Mr. Sam, we would not be here today. So welcome to the show. Good morning. How are you?
I am very well, Richard. Thank you for that amazing introduction. It just has me all hyped up and ready to go.
I love it. And I'm very grateful that you actually get a chance to take the time to hang out with us today. My first question is, what is your definition of resiliency?
Wow, that is a great way to start it off. If I had to define resiliency, it's the ability to stay grounded when things are constantly moving around you. No matter what happens, no matter what curves, your feet stay planted while you kind of move with the ebbs and flow and stay grounded in your faith, stay grounded in your purpose, staying grounded in what you see as your future is what I would personally define as resilience. And I say that for a reason, because things move so quickly around us, especially with a fast-paced environment between social media and AI. So it's almost difficult to stay. It's not as easy as it once was to stay grounded. So I think it's more challenging now than it was before. So I would define resiliency as literally the ability to just stay solid.
I love it. So give us a quick down and dirty. Where do you come from? Where'd you grow up? And how did you become such a force like you are today in the world?
Oh, wow. So to start, I am just from a small town, Dayton, Ohio, is where I was born and raised. Proud, of course, to be a Buckeye in a couple of different ways, from being from Ohio and that's actually attending the Ohio State University. So that's a great thing. I am also the youngest of four. So I come from a household with siblings. I was raised by a single mother. So our dynamic was roller coaster. I like to put it like that. It was never a dull moment. But it actually is what defined my future without me knowing it. It was kind of happening in the background. So being the youngest, I was privileged or, able to see a lot of different things, just, oh, okay. So this is how you move through life. This is how you make decisions quite early. So that led to me getting married quite early. I got married at the tender age of 21 years old. We're super proud of that. Still married to this day. We'll be celebrating 17 years. So that's great. But my marriage is what led me into entrepreneurship. I just wanted to be the traditional career. I was studying biology at Ohio State to go be a doctor. My husband wanted to start a business, and that just introduced new roller coasters, new directions, new paths. And from there, it just led me into the financial services industry where I serve other entrepreneurs in different capacities.
All right. So let's talk, because I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. And I was never supposed to be an entrepreneur. And some of us grow up, people that look like me, that look like you, that were like, you're not supposed to be an entrepreneur. You're not made. We're not built like that. Maybe just take a regular job and be happy working 9 to 5, have a couple kids, maybe buy a house, and then that's life. So what made you? Obviously, you and your husband decided to become entrepreneurs, but that's a hard road. And especially as a young couple, that's a really hard road to go down. So and I realize that if people don't talk, have that conversation at the kitchen table, honey, I want to start a business. This is what it's going to take. And if they don't have that conversation down the road, it's going to be an even harder conversation. What was that like? Because, my wife is my CEO, my wife is my COO. So what was it like, partnering and starting a business? Because, if one's in, you're both in. You know what I mean? So what was that like? How was that? What was that first conversation like?
Well, see, the thing about with my husband, what makes him very special and made the journey worth traveling, because neither one of us knew what was involved with it. We didn't know what the journey of entrepreneurship looked like. But what he was able to do was to paint a picture. He was able to give a clear vision. I don't know what it's going to be like on this path, but I can tell you where we're going. This is what we're doing it for. This is what we're going to do. This is why. This is the life we're going to live. He never said it was going to be easy. He never said that it was going to be quick. We didn't know how long, how hard. We didn't know that. But because he was able to paint such a clear picture and was able to show me the vision, it was a vision that I could buy into. And when you buy into a vision, like the path, it makes the journey easier. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing it for. You stay centered in your why. You stay centered in that vision. So the conversation was more of a persuasion. Like, it wasn't like a opinion, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? It's like, look, let me tell you what's going to happen if we do this. So, but I'm thankful that he did it that way. Because then, like I said, now it's just about buying into the vision. And now I am excited. Now I'm committed. And now I can paint this vision for someone else, like our children. So when they experience and when they see what we're doing, since I'm bought into the vision, it's easier for me to sell it to my children. And I think people mistake vision painting for, I hate to use this word because it's used with negative connotation, but for like manipulation or something like that. And it shouldn't be confused that way. We need the vision to know where we're going, because if we aim for nothing, we'll hit it with 100% accuracy. So we need the vision.
And I love that. And I love the Bible scripture, without, and I'm quoting, I mean, I don't remember the exact quote, but without vision, the people will perish.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, like, that's why I have a vision board. I have everything. I have my screensaver on my phone. I have my vision board. But, I know that if my wife feels something is off, 99.99%, she's right. There's something off. So I think sometimes, even men have this, if their wife says, honey, maybe we shouldn't do this at this point. Maybe I think if we listen to our wives, especially because they have that seventh sense, not just a sixth sense, but a seventh sense, maybe business would be a lot easier because they pretty much have a feeling when something is off. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. That intuition goes a long way, and it can be used to the advantage for leaders. When you know how to surround yourself with women that have strong intuition, it is giving yourself an unfair advantage, and people don't utilize that all the time.
So let's talk about, because this is what I really want to talk about is I love everything you're doing. I've been following you on social media, following your LinkedIn profile. I love what you're talking about. And I really want to talk about the 3 levels of wealth building. Because, a lot of people think, oh, there's rich and wealthy are the same. Two totally different. I come from the South. I lived in the South for a while. And there's such thing as new money, and then there's old money.
Yes, it
old
is.
Money is generational wealth. New money is just money for now. So let's dive into the 3 levels of building wealth.
Oh, absolutely. Because we are probably like right in the center of that first level. So first off, the 3 levels of wealth building. Number 1 is wealth creation. And I'm going to define that here shortly. The second part is like wealth development or acceleration of some kind. And then the last level, or the third level, I should say, is wealth preservation, where you're trying to ensure everything that you have managed to build for yourself, you can preserve and transfer to the next generation. But let's go into level 1. Because this is critical, guys, for us to understand, because we have so much opportunity swarming us as far as making money, income. So we confuse high income with a form of wealth. when it is just a source to actually create wealth. So if I had to define wealth creation, it's really when you have an asset that you own or have some type of control over, where the value of that asset is increased and then it's recognized and solidified. So for example, if we are executives and we're making high amounts of income, we have to convert that income to some type of value, whether we create a real estate portfolio or we create some type of stock portfolio or a portfolio in general. And then that goes up in value. Or as a new business owner, if you start a business from scratch and then you grow and scale that business to a multi-million-dollar business, and then it gets evaluated because you want to sell it or for some other type of liquidity event or for some type of insurable interest. So somebody tells you what it's worth. Oh, now your business is worth 10 million. Well, that is the wealth creation. The wealth has been created because the value has increased and it's been recognized, solidified, and now you can convert that to go to the next level of wealth development. Now, how do I take this 10 million and multiply it? And in your multiplication phase, you realize, okay, I can't take this with me. How do I preserve as much of it as possible to keep generating income for my family for as many generations as possible? So those are the 3 levels of wealth.
All right, so let's go a little bit deeper in each part. Because I believe, I don't care if you have a 9-to-5 job. I believe everybody should have a side hustle. Everybody should have something, like you said, that you can sell or you can create something for your children, put them to work. Like my children actually work for me, and I actually get to write that off because, but it's because I started a side hustle while still working my 9-to-5. Like my friend Gary Vaynerchuk said, your 9-to-5 pays your bills, your 10-to-2 builds your legacy. So how important is it, even if you can't afford just to start $1 million company, to start a little side hustle, to start getting some money up, but also start creating some business credit?
Yeah. First of all, multiple sources of income is almost a requirement these days. We see how these prices are going up. Like it is imperative, but it also helps you create or increase the value of the most important asset anyway for your family, which is you. You are the most valuable asset in your family. And we say that in a couple of ways, because you are your own personal economy and your family is also a business. So when you have to evaluate your assets in both of those perspectives, you're the most valuable asset. So the more skill development you increase and get to increase your income, the more valuable you become as an asset. So it's that income is needed because we can't create wealth without it. We need income. And if we're spending all of our income on our lifestyle expenses, whether you live the lifestyle you want or not, lifestyle is your living and all of your living expenses and everything. If you're spending all of your income for that, you don't leave the opportunity to create wealth. So we have to have those additional sources just to redirect it into our wealth creating efforts. And that's sometimes where also people kind of don't do it purposefully because things are so expensive, but don't get the opportunity to do.
And they're like, let's talk about people that look rich and people that are wealthy. Like the average millionaire drives a late model vehicle, no car payment, usually no house payment. You wouldn't tell if they were working 9-to-5 or if they were rich. They dress normally. They don't dress as you would think of people dressing in bling and having these fancy cars. So let's talk about what people that are worried about real wealth, how they actually live their lifestyle. They don't live it lavishly. They live on a budget and they do it very well.
I would have to slightly disagree.
Okay.
Wealth is flaunted, but they flaunt it in different ways.
Yeah.
They may not put so much emphasis on things that are recognizable to the traditional eye, But sometimes the watch that looks like the least expensive is the most expensive.
True.
And
Yeah.
sometimes the toys that they may not drive it, but they may ride it on the water. There may be boats, there may be multiple homes. But the one way that wealth is flaunted that I actually agree with and appreciate is how much money you give away.
Yes.
So we don't, and everybody has their experience. As we speak about biblical principles, everybody has to do their 40 days in the wilderness. That's just kind of how it goes. Everything happens in seasons. So sometimes new money, they want to explore what it's like to have that new money. They go through that season where they're buying the expensive things and they want to look a certain way, drive a certain car, live in a certain house. Everybody goes through that, and then it kind of hits you like, that's really not what it's all cracked up to be. I don't like that I have more money in my closet in my bank account or more money in my driveway than in my portfolio. It happens. It clicks. There is a transition where that occurs, but just don't think for 1 second that wealthy people aren't doing that same thing. But what they have done is they have bought the assets that pay for those things. And that's where the distinct difference comes in at. We do our 40 days in the wilderness. And when you come out of that wilderness, you learn I have to convert my income to valuable assets that are then going to pay me so I can buy all the nice things I want to buy without the exchange of time to be able to do that.
And I agree with you 100%. I had the authors of Rich Dad, Poor Dad on the show, and that was something they talked about. They talked about they asked themselves, how can I afford these things? What can bring me the assets so I'm afford to buy the beach house? I can afford to buy the nicer cars, but they wanted to make sure, okay, if I stopped working, is my money going to stop working when I quit?
Exactly.
So let's talk about development, because that's part two of the three pillars. I tell people all the time, before you invest in something, invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I took, I don't know, I think I'm up to like $150,000 in courses and classes and books and seminars. I rather invest in myself than invest in something, because now I can afford to buy the nice beach house, the nice cars, the boat, whatever. But if I didn't do the personal development first, I wouldn't get where I'm at. So talk about, first of all, is learning financial intelligence, and also doing personal development before you buy something. Because there's no sense of having a smartphone and still being dumb.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So talk about the personal development before you start getting into investing in things.
Yes. I agree 100%. Again, because you're the most valuable asset in your family. So as long as you invest in yourself, you're going to always yield a larger return than most outside investments. So personal development is key to creating wealth. Typically, there is some form of like the things that you mentioned. When you have a skill that you want to perfect, that comes with needing to invest in it, whether it needs to advance your education in it, needing to scale it or build it out or build an infrastructure behind that skill so you can take it to new levels. That is required because that's you growing in value. You're going to yield the largest return. And then where does that return go? Because that usually leads to more income. And that's where the wealth development comes into, because now you've increased in value. You've created the wealth. I'm generating the income. And wealth development now gets into I'll just say it in the plainest terms, it's like investment allocation now. Like, you do have to invest in yourself first. That is the foundational component to your portfolio. You. Once you have reached a level where now I am producing the amount of income I need, and now I need a place to put it, that is the wealth development. Or if you've created a large lump sum, that is wealth development, because now we have to shift our perspective where we're not investing like individuals, we're investing like institutions. Because your family is a business. It is an institution, and it's in the business of growing in value, growing the value of your last name. But you can't do that if you are investing from an individual perspective. Institutions diversify their portfolio. You kind of concentration is what's going to produce the income. You're concentrating on yourself, enhancing your skill. That's what's going to make you rich. Diversification is what's going to make you wealthy. That wealth development is now, okay, now I need to clearly build a team here. I need to be able to have conversations with professionals about where I want my wealth to go. What do I want to do with this value that I've created? What's next? And building that team to produce the investments to develop your wealth further is the next step. That's why you want to have that literacy, because you have to be able to communicate with those people. You got to be able to talk in their language. You got to be able to tell your accountant what you want to do. You got to be able to tell your investment advisors what you want to do. You have to be able to tell your estate planning attorneys how you want your legacy to be left. So it starts with you. You create the plan, you create the vision. You decide, I'm going to be the CEO of my family business, and I'm going to lead it in the direction that I want it to go. That's going to produce the most amount of wealth where my family can be self-sustainable. So that's what wealth development is, that new level of, now I need to put my team in place. Now I'm the coach, and I need to put the team in place, and I need to tell them what game plan to follow.
And I love that. And that's one reason I love the Purple books, by Sharon and Robert Kiyosaki, is that you have to tell your money, where do you go? Mm-hmm. Most people don't even realize where their money goes. And I think that's the difference between people that are wealthy, is they tell their money where to go, instead of just wondering where it went. So let's talk about the third aspect, is because I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. I'm a big basketball guy. And then I see somebody like Allen Iverson, went to Georgetown, made over $400 million in his career, went bankrupt, lost it all. Mm-hmm. Then you see somebody like Mr. Shaquille O'Neal, whose father sat him down at one point. His father was in the military, said, Shaquille, you're messing up, son. And now Shaquille is one of the richest athletes in the world. He owns like 400 restaurants, but one kept it and built it. The other one lost it all. So let's talk about the third pillar, is actually keeping what you got and building up instead of losing it all and going back to day one again.
Yes, the preservation is key. It's not about how much you made, it's about how much you kept. And keeping it requires a game plan. And most of the time, those people, we wait on the windfall of money to create the game plan. So if the money comes before the plan, you're going to spend it. But if you have the plan before the money, you're going to keep it. So the key to it is, what game plan are you following? Like, I encourage you to, when you step in that role of family CEO and you're carving out and you're creating that vision, that mission, and those values that you're going to follow, what is the game plan? It's like, hey, I want to be able to create a structure for my children where their education is going to be provided for, where they know what roles we need in our family business, and we're striving to create that. Do I just want to become a master investor like Shaquille O'Neal, so my investment allocations are going to be key? And who do we have on our team to make us execute that with efficiency? We also tend to operate in fear. That's why we don't put the plan together. Because when you start to work on the plan, you realize who you need. Like, oh, I need these people and these people and these people. And then this fear of, I don't want to bring them in. I don't want to pay for that just yet. Or I'm not ready for that yet. Or I'm not making enough money. Maybe once I do this, then I'll think about that. Like, all these, you start building these things in your mind of why you shouldn't build the plan. And then the money comes, and now you're in spending mode, because that comes easily. Money is like water, when it's sitting in a cup. If you don't drink it, it's just going to evaporate. Yeah. And that's what money does. It's just going to flow through your hands easily. You can spend it with ease. Planning takes time. So the wealth preservation is about having the plan from the wealth creation phase. You've had a plan this whole time, and you've just been working the plan. How much money do you want to make in a year? Okay, how much do I need to have to invest that to yield that type of return, to produce that type of income? Like you have to know what plan you're working with. And I can't stress that enough, because most of the time when I'm speaking to clients and when we're helping them either manage or preserve their wealth, and we ask, okay, what are we trying to achieve? That's a new conversation that they're having that they never even thought about. They've just been out here making money. Oh, I've just been worried about making money right now. I haven't thought about what I want to do 20 years from now. Those who forget the ultimate is a slave to the immediate.
Say that
We
again.
have to know the
Say that.
ultimate.
Say that again for the people in the back.
For the people in the back, if you forget or negate the ultimate, it's because you are a slave to the immediate. If you're not thinking 25 years down the line, you're behind. We have to think bigger. We have to think bolder. We have to think longer. And then that's how we can get to preserving what we keep, because we're thinking about further ahead. I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about tomorrow. I want to keep this for tomorrow. So it just changes your perspective.
Okay, so then let's talk about parenting, because a lot of it, what we teach our children, like I was growing up, the words I heard all the time, and I can't stand it, is, oh, we can't afford it. Or money don't grow on trees, or, all these negative connotations with money. And I had to flip the script with my children, to say there's so much abundance out there. We just have to find a way to get it. And you can be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. Like my wife's an entrepreneur. She works for the same company for 30 years. So that's what she does. She's an intrapreneur. I'm the entrepreneur. But we got to teach our kids that, there's so much abundance out there. We have to just find a way to get it legally, obviously, morally, and we have to show them the way. So talk about being a parent, but also being a CEO.
Yes, absolutely. So you said something in there about the abundance, that there's so much for you to go out and achieve and to obtain. Like, it doesn't have to be. I ask this: what you say you can't afford right now, like, oh, I can't afford that. Well, can you afford for your story to be, oh, I was able to live a lifestyle of abundance. I was able to make a lot of money, and I documented it on social media. And then your children or your grandchildren see that lifestyle that you live, but they're not living the same. Can you afford to explain that? Can you afford for wealth? Because typically wealth is lost in 2 generations, or significant value lost in 2 generations. Can you afford for that to be your story? Can you afford for your children to grow up and decide that they want to take entrepreneurship on? They want to buy a home. They want to do these things, but they can't come to their parents for any help. They have to scrape and scrabble and get. Can you afford for that to happen? Can you afford for a major life emergency to just wipe out everything that you've done, or a lawsuit, or some type of huge tax bill that you weren't prepared for? Can you afford for those things to happen? So before you tell yourself what you can't afford, ask, can you afford those other things? And sometimes we make our decisions based on where we are instead of where we want to be. And then when you realize where you want to be, what you can afford, that list starts to get longer and longer, because you're like, oh no, this is where I want to be. So I'll make myself be able to afford that to get there. It's the same thing as investing in yourself. It's the same thing. You want more for yourself, so you have to invest and sow the seed today to reap the harvest later. So don't wrap your mind around what you can't afford monetarily, but ask yourself, what can you afford spiritually and emotionally down the line if any of those situations occur?
And I love that. So let's talk about the spirituality aspect, because a lot of people, when they go on a podcast, they don't expect to hear about the spiritual aspect, but that's why my show is a little bit different. I believe that if my father owns it all and I'm in the lineage, if he's going to let me borrow my house, he'll let me borrow the beach house. If he lets me borrow the Kia, he'll let me borrow the Corvette. As long as I know that I don't own it, it's all his. He's letting me borrow it. And like any good parent, if your child appreciates what you do for them, they just want to give you more, as long as you're being a good steward of what you have. And that's just that's not abundance preaching. That's just the way of the world. The more you appreciate what you appreciate appreciates.
Yes.
So talk about, being a child of God, knowing that he owns it all. I can't be broke. It's impossible. I cannot be broke as long as I'm doing the right things and realizing he owns it all. I'm just a steward of it.
Yes.
So talk about the spiritual aspect of money.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about it is there are principles that regulate finances, money. Like if you follow the principles, so especially to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes. Yes.
So if you are asking for this abundance, if you are receiving this abundance, you have to be willing and understand the responsibility, because you are responsible to leave an inheritance to your children's children from that abundance. You were given a lot, so much is expected for you to build the foundation and the infrastructure that your children can proudly stand on, confidently stand on, where they can continue the legacy that you started. Another principle that is important to live by is, where there is no counsel, the people will fail, but in abundance of counsel, there will be victory. You cannot do it alone.
Yeah. Agreed.
No one is self-made.
Yeah.
You go just as far as your belief system allows you to go. And if you think that you're going to do it by yourself, you are sadly mistaken. That's not going to happen. That's a biblical principle that we must live by when it comes to our finances. Those are 3 of them just right there. If we aren't grounded in those principles, then we move at the way of the world. And we know what the result of that is. We know what the result of that is. So if you're not familiar with the wealth principles that's centered in the Bible, I will become very familiar with those. If you are striving to build wealth, you have to do it off the principles. So everyone should study. All entrepreneurs should understand the wealth principles, period. If it's not grounded in that, you're just going to go from rags to riches back to rags again.
I love it. And I think that goes back to the power of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. You are the average of the people you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with people that aren't talking about success or family or important stuff, and you're just hanging out with people that are just doing it the way of the world, well, then you're going to get what you get. Right?
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So what's going on in your world today? How can we get in your ecosystem, and how can we support your mission?
No, I love it. Thank you. So first off, I try to keep it simple. So if you want to get into the ecosystem of me, I am on all platforms under my name, Lavaisha Davis, everywhere: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. But if you are committed to becoming the family CEO and you're trying to build your wealth plan and trying to organize your team, and now you just don't know what steps to take, we have a thriving community that with like-minded individuals in that same place. So you can join our community at mywealthandlegacy.com. And in there, we are creating family CEOs every day. And those family CEOs go and create the vision and the mission for their family that they can buy into. So on this journey to create wealth, which is not an easy one, just like in personal development, when you're striving for success, you hear a lot of no's. When you are striving to create wealth, you're going to take a lot of blows, and you're going to need support along that way. So these like-minded individuals that's becoming the family CEOs is definitely a place I will welcome everyone who is in that same mindset to be.
I love it. Now that's normally the last question, but it's because it's you. I got one more question. We're in a very turbulent world right now. I had my friend Iron Chef Simon Majumdar was on, and ever since COVID happened, we've lost over 100,000 restaurants in the United States. Some people are driving Uber, DoorDash, just to pay the bills. So if I ask somebody to do something in 7 days, they're never going to get to it. But if I ask somebody that's listening to us right now to do something in the next 24 hours, they're more likely to do it. So if somebody is struggling with their faith, what can they do in the next 24 hours to find some peace?
Woo. So here's the thing. Our 24 hours to find peace is different than God's 24 hours to find peace.
Yes.
So I would be mistaken if I said I had something for you that's going to deliver what God has intended for you to find your peace in that amount of time. I would be misspeaking. I would not be right to do that. But what I will tell you is in the time of trial, your faith is called to testify. So if you are troubled with peace, Philippians 4 tells us that only God will be able to provide us a peace that surpasses all understanding. If you are struggling with that peace, faith is the only thing that's going to provide that for you. So if you can rev it up in 24 hours, if you can become inundated with God's word, God's people, who he is sending in your life to provide you peace that you may be ignoring because he only works through people. Unless you can submerge yourself in that, you're not going to find the peace anyway. The peace is always going to be in his word. God's will never conflicts with his word. So it's going to be, if his will is peace for you, it's going to be in his word. So that's where it's going to start. I don't want to say that magic is going to happen in 24 hours because God's time is the only good time.
Amen. So I'm so grateful that we finally got a chance to hang out. Again, I want to thank Sam Rivera. Thank you so much for putting us together. I'm truly humbled and grateful. And guys, as I end every show, I'm a big Joel Osteen guy, and something that he says is every morning when we wake up, we have a choice. We can be a victim, or we can be a victor. And as long as you listen to this show, every morning when you wake up, you're no longer a victim of your past. You're a victor of your present and your future. So thank you guys for always showing up. And remember that vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. I love you guys. Have an amazing day. Lavaisha, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been one of my favorite conversations of all time I've had.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That is, now I'm going to have a smile. Nobody's going to be able to tell me anything now.
Well, God bless you and your husband and your amazing children. I can't wait to see what you got coming up in the future.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you.